With me now to talk more about this is Alice Stewart. She is a CNN political commentator and a Republican strategist. So, Alice, despite all the legal troubles surrounding Trump, he continues to poll either about even or slightly ahead of Biden in some cases. Should Trump and the Republicans be encouraged or concerned by this polling average?
Well, based on what we're seeing, they should certainly be encouraged. Look, one poll is a snapshot in time, and the New York Times CNN poll we just talked about is a snapshot, and Trump is ahead in that. But when we're talking about our CNN poll of polls, this is a culmination of 6 recent polls, and with Donald Trump ahead 48 to 46, that shows he has a trend where he is trending better than Joe Biden. And look, yes, it is within the margin of error, but it's much better to be 2 points ahead than 2 points below. And look, we can all agree that Donald Trump is a train wreck, but the policies of the Biden administration appear to be crashing down on the American people. And the policies are what is really front and center in this. And we just showed the numbers from that New York Times CNN poll when they asked voters, are Trump's policies helping you or hurting you? And the numbers show that those polled say that 40% of them say that Trump's policies are helping them. Conversely, 40% say Biden's policies are hurting them. And when you ask voters that question, that is a positive thing for Donald Trump moving forward, despite all of the other things going on outside of this. When people see right there, they are personally helped by Trump's policies and hurt 25%. Those numbers go a long way. When people feel that they are economically better off than they were 4 years ago, that's better. And what we're seeing there with Joe Biden, his policies appear to have hurt people personally, 43% to 18%. And when we're talking about issues, whether it is the economy, whether it is the border, whether it's immigration, these are issues that are front of mind for voters in the general election.
I guess the question for for someone who may think Trump can hang on to enough of his supporters at this point is, look, Nikki Haley at this point is not expected to take the Republican nomination as we head into Super Tuesday, at least based on polls and results to this point. That said, she has taken a significant number of voters in places like South Carolina, in Michigan. And so I guess the question is, do you feel or are you concerned that Trump may not be able to hold on to some of those moderate Republicans or those that chose Nikki Haley in these early stages, and that they either may not vote or sway towards someone like President Biden? Do you have that concern at all at this point?
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Omar. And you look at in South Carolina specifically, Nikki Haley got 40% of the vote. So 4 in 10 Republican voters wanted someone besides Donald Trump. Obviously, the numbers aren't that great in other key battleground states, but we're seeing that many Republican voters are looking for a change, and they certainly still want a choice. But again, we're talking about the GOP voters. And look, as we head into the general election, Donald Trump's not going to have quite as favorable reception from the independent voters, the disaffected Republican voters. So the question is, how will he add to the base that he has? We know his base is strong. We know that his support within the GOP is very enthusiastic. Those numbers are much greater than Joe Biden. The question is, as we know, these general elections are all about the mushy middle, the more moderate voters, and can he add to the base that he has and bring about a victory in November? That's a question and a concern for some Republicans.
And look, I mean, we've got, when we look at the campaign schedule, the legal schedule, it's a busy calendar for the former president. Based on the timelines now, it's less clear if he would be, in theory, convicted or have a trial wrap up before Election Day. But if some of these cases even make it to trial before an Election Day, and Trump has to actually be in court, how is that impact going to be different in a general election cycle where it's he versus President Biden versus now in a primary cycle where it's he versus, let's say, Nikki Haley?
Look, I think it will be different heading into the general election. We all know that his primary voters are looking at all of these legal issues with one fell swoop. As he says, this is a weaponization of the DOJ. This is the liberal justices and liberal prosecutors out to get him because he is the #1 challenger to Joe Biden. But that being said, that will help him certainly in the GOP primary. But as we head into November, a lot of voters in the middle are going to take issue with that, and whether or not some of these actually go to trial. You're looking at that calendar. We already see three of these cases, whether they're trials or hearings, coming up before July 15th, which is the Republican convention, which at that point, it all appears he will secure the GOP nomination. But even after then, he has other trials and hearings scheduled. And what he's trying to do right now, Omar, as we all know, what Donald Trump does, he is trying to buy some time in the courts so he can stretch this out as far as he possibly can. And in his mind, after the election, and in his mind, he will be able to have more sway if he were to be elected president in terms of what he does with the current people that are in prosecutor positions as well as district attorneys if he were to be president.
And of course, we're waiting on the Supreme Court that announced they would decide in April over presidential immunity, which would affect a whole number of cases that he's facing here, both at the federal and even at the state level as well. We will see. Alice Stewart, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Omar.